Well, good morning. My name is Jeremy, like Whitney said. I want to address to the person with 20 kids. If that's you, you don't need to even worry about $5 childcare because you probably have a show on A&E, and you're making a lot of money. So just wanted to say that. As you can see, I'm not Marcus, thankfully. But I can say that because he's gone. He and his wife, Jen, they needed some good R&R, and so they're gone this weekend, but they'll be back next weekend. And he asked me to share, and I'm excited to do that. I got to give you fair warning, though. Fair warning. He obviously needed rest and relaxation because he asked me to speak. And I think when he called, he actually didn't know. I think he dialed the wrong number, but just went with it. And so you just never know what's going to come out of this mouth, and that's on a good day with a lot of rest. I need you to know that. And I actually just got off duty from my job. I work nights, and so I just got off from my job at 6:30 this morning. So I haven't slept, which means you're in for a treat. The filter is low, and so I apologize in advance for any cuss words. All right. So, but no, when Marcus called me, it was several months ago, and he said, hey, I really want you to talk on this subject of richer relationships, which I actually laughed. I thought that was so funny because there's kind of a running joke in my family that Jeremy's the one of us that I'm kind of the friendliest loner that you're ever going to meet. I jokingly say with my family that I don't like people. I say it jokingly, but yet there's a part of me that's always kind of felt that way. I don't like people. I like you from a distance, but just stay at your distance. It's why I don't like Canadians, because they really invade my space. But, no, I'm just kidding. Canadians are great, eh? So, but it's true. I have been a loner for most of my adult life. I have a lot of acquaintances, but not a ton of friends. And that's just been me. I've always just been that way. But it was the reason I know that Marcus said this would be good for you is to speak about is that about a year and a half ago, I was really frustrated in life. And I called him, and because he has me host here and stuff, and I kind of called and said, you know what, I shouldn't be doing that because I'm really not the person to be doing it. I shouldn't be involved. I shouldn't blah. No, I shouldn't. And he's like, okay, slow down. He did what a good pastor did. First, he got me to slow down. And then he started to address where it was really coming from, where the negativity and the frustration with life was really coming from. And in that moment on the phone, I was at work. I probably should have been working, but I was calling him. He asked me two questions. And he said, first of all, let me ask you this. How are you doing with your giving? I'm like, I just told you I'm mad and you want to know if I'm giving? You're horrible. I'm leaving the church. No, I didn't say that. I said, I caught it right away. He was asking me, how are you doing with giving of yourself, giving of what God's given you? Because when we give out, we receive so much. And so he saw something in me that was very me centered, and he said, how are you doing with giving? And then the second question he said is, how are you doing in building relationships? Who are your closest relationships? Who's encouraging you? Who are you encouraging? How are you doing in that? And it really hit me because, to be honest, I wasn't. I was doing the my four and no more. I've got my wife, my two kids, and we're good. And I was not investing in anything else besides work and my family. That was it. And that just isn't enough. We were built for relationships. So for the next year, I got into small groups. We hosted a small group. I started making friends with people, like real friends on Facebook, not just, hey, I like you because I hit the like button, actually talking to people that are my friends on Facebook, reconnecting. I started to try and build more relationships, and it's brought me to a place that I can actually say I like people, which is a big deal for this guy who didn't like people. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is richer relationships. And when he first told me to, I'm like, oh, great. We're going to talk about how to find friends with money, richer relationships. It's not what we're talking about. I don't know any of those, and I'm not one of those, so don't come try and find me. But richer, real, authentic, meaningful relationships. That's the stuff that makes our life go from good to crazy good. And so we're going to talk about that today. A couple quotes that I found that I really like to talk about what real friendships are. Friends are people who know you really well and like you anyway, right? Friends give you a shoulder to cry on, but a real friend finds a shovel to go after the person who made you cry. A real friend tells you when your face is dirty or when you get that bug right up there. That's how I knew that my wife and I were gonna be really close when she tried to pick one for me. And I'm like, whoa, back off, lady. And honestly, she's a picker. It's kind of weird. But my favorite one is, a good friend will help you move, but a great friend will help you move the body. No, I'm just kidding. That's not good. It's not a good one. It's not a good one. Here's the truth. All of us have been in relationships, right? You can't help be in this life but be in some kind of relationships. We've had good ones. We've had bad ones. We've had family relationships, dating relationships, work relationships, friends from school, friends all over. We've all had relationships. Relationships are huge. The truth of the matter is, relationships shape you. A big part of who you are today is because of the relationships you've chosen or have been given in your life. Our relationships shape us. That's why they're so important. And many of us avoid them because every relationship, whether it was great or not so great, every relationship has good moments and bad moments. And a lot of us avoid relationships because what we remember the most are the bad moments. They're the moments that really stick with us, and we don't want any more pain. We don't want any more moments of brokenness. We don't want any more hurt or disappointment, but those are a part of every relationship. So what a lot of us decide to do because of those things is we look out for the most important relationship. We decide that I'm going to look out for the most important relationship in my life, and that's me. And that's when we become friendly loners. That's when we put up these walls to protect us from all those other things. And we begin to say things like relationships are in our minds, that relationships we have are great, but they're disposable. I like my coworkers, but don't get too close to me. But if you cross me, you know. I love my family. Hey mom, hey dad, hey siblings, hey wife. You're all awesome, but when it's all said and done, if you hurt me, I'm going to take care of me. I don't need you as much as I need me, so I'm going to take care of me. And we begin to build these invisible walls that keep us from really having rich relationships, real meaningful relationships. And when we do that, we become people that seem to have a lot going on for us, and our life can be okay, but the truth is we feel very lonely inside. There's people in this room right now that seemed, just like many of you who know me would be like, not you, but who would sitting in these chairs go, yeah, I got a lot of acquaintances, but not a lot of friends. I'm pretty lonely. You may seem like you've got a lot going for you, but you're all alone. Because rich relationships are so important, but we build up walls because of so many reasons. I want to share with you Ecclesiastes 4:8. This is from the smartest man in the Bible, Solomon. And here's what he says, and I love how he says it. It says, "This is the case of a man who is all alone, without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can, but then asks himself, who am I working for? Why am I giving up so much pleasure now? It's all so meaningless and depressing." This guy poured all his time and energy into the stuff that he thought mattered. He works hard, he's making money, he's successful, but he's got no one to share it with. And it leaves him feeling depressed. It leaves him asking the question, well, what's the point? And what Solomon and what the Bible is trying to teach us here is that we were designed for relationships. You were built for them. All the rest of the stuff is no good if you're all alone. It's not worth it if you're all alone. You can have a lot of other things, and your life can be okay, but without relationships, that's all it will ever be, is maybe okay. And eventually, it'll be pointless. But if you want crazy good life, you need relationships to share all the rest of that stuff with. And that's why Marcus asked me to share today, because he knows my experience, and he knows the excuses I've made. And he knows we all make a lot of excuses. So my goal today is this. I want to convince you that putting your energy into relationships is something worth doing. I want you to walk out of here encouraged and challenged to actually do it. It's not enough to hear this and go, that's great, and then go live alone. I want you to begin to be intentional about investing in relationships. And immediately, like I said, you're all going to have excuses. All of us do. I had them the day that he challenged me, so I know you have them. And the good news is I've made every excuse in the book. So now I'm going to answer them because I like that. And since I only speak here once every 3 years, I don't care what you think. So I'm going to say it. So the first one excuse that we have is naivety. I didn't know. Nobody ever told me. So here's what I want you to do. Write it down, naivety. Cool, we solved that one. Now you know. Now you know. There's no more excuse. Knowing is half the battle. That's what G.I. Joe used to tell me when I was a kid. Knowing's half the battle. You now know. But so many of us think, no, I don't need them. I'm good. I can do this. I got this. Especially guys. Yeah, man, I'm good. I love watching guys when you talk about this kind of stuff. I work with a bunch of guys who are tough or think they are. And if I were to tell them, you need relationships, they're like, nah, I'm good. Guys have this front that we put up for some reason. That's why I'm not really manly, I guess, because I'm like, you really need relationships. But it's true. This life is bigger than you. It is tougher than you. There are going to be moments that are harder than you can handle. You will have things that you cannot do well alone. You need to be in relationship. A lot of us are like, nah, I don't need that. I got this. Muhammad Ali is a great example of this. Muhammad Ali, if you don't know who he is, look it up. I'm not going to tell you. Google it. But he was a great boxer. And he got onto a plane one day, and the flight attendant came by, and they're getting ready to take off. And the flight attendant looks down and says, sir, you need to buckle up. And Muhammad Ali was a pretty arrogant guy, and he looked at her and said, Superman don't need no seatbelt. And she was pretty quick. And she looked at him, and she said, yeah, Superman doesn't need a plane either, so buckle up. Right? We need it. He needed it. We need it. We think we're tougher than we are, and we're not. So you need, number one, naivety. Number two, temperament is our excuse. Jeremy, that's just not my personality. I'm more of an introvert. You're obviously an extrovert, but I'm more of an introvert. I know you won't shut up, but I don't like to talk. I'm more quiet. I don't feel comfortable putting myself out there. God made me this way, and it's awkward for me to just open up. So here, I get that. Let me just say this to you. Get over it. Get over it. I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm way more of an introvert than you realize. This is fun for me. I love the crowd, but you know what's going to happen to me as soon as I'm done, and not just because I've had no sleep? I'm going to be exhausted, and I'm going to want to go into a hole and be quiet by myself. I'm much more of an introvert than I may come across. So I understand it. I'm always would much rather be at home watching Netflix in my bedroom than spending time in a relationship. It is awkward and hard for me too, but I have to choose to get over it. Our temperaments are our temperaments, but you know what? You need a guy who won't shut up in your life just as much as I need a person who has a hard time opening up in mine. We need each other. Whatever your temperament, whatever your design, it doesn't change the fact that God built you for relationship. Can it be tough? Yep. Will it be awkward at times? Absolutely. Does it change it? No. You still need relationships. Which leads me to my next thing. Fear. This is a big one. I don't know what's going to happen if I start to build relationships. If I let people in, they're going to recognize who I really am, or more importantly, who I'm not. They're going to start to see me for me, and what will they think? What are people going to think of me when they realize how flawed and jacked up I am? Can I tell you what they're going to think? Whew, I'm not alone. Because we're all jacked up. We all have issues. The person on your left, the person on your right, they've got huge issues. I know some of them, trust me. And if they're the person who thinks they don't have issues, that is their issue. We do small groups here at Center Church, right? You'll hear us talk a lot about small groups. And some of us are terrified of small groups. We're fearful to walk into, I don't want to walk in somebody's house. That's awkward. That's weird. I'm scared. What are they going to do? Especially church people. Church people are freaky, all right? I know I used to be one. They are freaky. You're scared to go in a small group. They're probably going to have like candles lit, lights low. You're going to walk in. There's going to be a circle of chairs, but one in the middle. And you know what the one in the middle is for. It's for you. They're going to sit you down, and they're going to begin to pray crazy things out loud and make you confess your sins. They're going to be like, I have exorcised the demons. This house is clear. They're going to do all kinds of weird things. Let me promise you something. That will never happen to you in a small group here. Let's just get that out of the way. And if it does, here's what I want you to do. I want you to run. Run as fast as you can. Second thing I want you to do is I want you to call Pastor Marcus. Third thing I want you to do is I want you to call me because I want to be there when Pastor Marcus handles that because that's awesome. But that's not what's going to happen when you go into a small group. What's going to happen is you're going to meet a bunch of people that are like you. And yeah, you guys are going to talk. You're going to hang out. Most importantly, you're probably going to eat some food. You're going to get to know each other, and you're going to discover things about each other that are really similar. You're going to discover that, whoa, you got that too. C.S. Lewis says this, I love it. He says, Friendship is born at the moment that one person says to another, "What? You too? I thought I was the only one." That's what happens in small groups. That's what happens when we put ourselves out there. That's what happens when we get beyond the fear. We discover that we're not alone. And the third thing we do is we make the excuse of my past experiences. Something's happened in your past. You've been burned. You've been hurt. And because of that, you've decided, I just can't be involved in that anymore. I've been burned by relationships. I can't be involved in relationships anymore. But I want to share something with you. Your pain, it really wasn't just about the experience between you and that person. Like I told you at the beginning, you were born for relationships. You were built with that need. God designed you for relationships, first with Him and then with others. And there is an enemy of your soul that wants nothing more than to destroy that purpose. And so if he can take and make you believe that it was about the relationships and you'll just give up on them, then he feels like he can win. But I want you to hear something. Don't let the issue be the thing that causes you to give up on the most important thing, which is the relationship. Yes, we're going to hurt people. Yes, we're going to be hurt. Yes, there's going to be disappointment and failure because people are messy. You're messy. I'm messy. My kids are really messy. We are messy people, and so we're going to make a mess of things at times. But that doesn't change the fact that relationships are so vital to helping us actually get unmessy and to making things better in our lives. And then the final one, this is my favorite one, busyness. Busyness. This one's perfect for me because this world is not slowing down. I have a crazy job. I work 12 and a half hours a day. I come home to 2 crazy kids and she's a wonderful wife. She's kind of crazy. I come home to a crazy life. We have junior high and high school coming up. We've got sports. We've got things we're running to every day. All of us know it because our jobs have gotten longer and we bring them home with our leashes called cell phones. We have more activities. Our kids are doing more in one weekend than we used to do in a month when we were growing up. And it just never stops. The last thing that I want to do is add one more component to my life, which is another person, which is going to make me be more busy. But I want to tell you something. Some of us need to recognize that we're too busy. We are busy by choice. And we have a choice to be a little less busy. We have certain things in our life that are just important. And we've got to make the decision to have those things. We've got to make the decision. And the Bible actually says it. Psalm 90:12 says, "Teach us to number our days that we may get the heart of wisdom." In other words, help us to realize we don't have all the time in the world. That our life is short. And so we need wisdom, and we need to do the things that are most important. And then 1 Peter 4:8 says this, "Above all, love people." Above all. When the Bible says above all, that you've got to take note. That's important. That's like above everything else. Most important, people. Most important, relationships. So when you're too busy for relationships, you're too busy. So you need to make a choice to change your schedule a little bit. And I'm speaking to me, by the way. You need to make a choice to change your schedule so that you can, above all, love people and have time for people. It actually goes on to say whatever gifts you have, use them to serve others. And then it talks about using who you are for others, above all, relationships. Relationships. So how do we do that? What does that look like? I want to give you 4 things. And I believe that there's at least one of these for every single person in this room. 4 ways that you can experience richer relationships. The first is, if I want richer relationships, I have to nurture my important relationships. Each of us have relationships that are very critical. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother. We each have really, really critical relationships. And we have got to realize something. Nothing stays where we left it. We have to nurture it. Things don't just maintain. They deteriorate if we don't nurture them. Example would be in my marriage. When I first met Lindsay, my wife, I knew there was something about her. I knew it wasn't just that she was really, really good looking, because she was. But that wasn't what it was about. There was something about this girl. Like someone said, there's the girls that you could have lived with. She was the one I couldn't live without. I was corny back then. I would say those kind of things. And I'm corny like that now. But there was something about her. So I did crazy stuff to show her that I liked her. I did things to build that relationship. I did things to show her she mattered and that who I was hopefully would matter to her. One example is my wife was into racing, like illegal street races. Kind of funny. She was into it. It is funny. She had, like, if you've seen Fast and the Furious, like, it was modeled after my wife. And she had this, like, souped-up little Honda that the first time I drove it, I, like, bottomed it out because it was really low to the ground. It had a wolf whistle. It had all kinds of stuff. She rolled up the first time I saw her, and it was like, I'm like, I don't know about this girl, but I'm kind of into it. So I drove a 1994 stock Toyota pickup truck. It was before they came out with the Tacoma. Yeah, it had the cool hubcaps that came with it. They were plastic and would pop off. It had a really great stereo with a tape player in it, I think, and it was awesome. That was my car. So on our first date, I'm like, well, I got to impress this girl. I got to make her know that I like her. So I went out and I souped up my car. I dropped 500 big ones on a stereo. It had lights. It folded down so you could push the buttons in it. It did all these cool designs. Now, I didn't change the hubcaps, didn't change the paint job. My truck was totally stock. Everything about it was stock. I actually didn't even change the speakers. So that stereo meant nothing. As a matter of fact, I think it blew my speakers. Like, it was horrible. And I rolled up, I'm like, hey, girl. And it wasn't making a noise, so I'm like, come on in. Because we do those kind of things when we're trying to nurture that relationship when it's new. But you know what? I can't just drive her to the wedding day in that really souped-up Toyota pickup, say I do, and leave it there. I don't get to do that. Because if I don't continue to nurture our relationship, it's going to deteriorate. The same thing is true with my kids. The same thing is true with the rest of my family. It's true of any relationship that is important, the vital relationships that we have. We have to nurture them. We don't wait until it's broken to start pouring into it. I've been there. I've done that. It is not good. We must nurture them first. Don't wait till your kids are all grown to start caring about them or showing them that you care. Don't wait until the marriage is almost over to finally go get some counseling. Hey, get some counseling while you're healthy. It'll keep you healthy. Do the things you need to do to nurture those relationships. Colossians 2:19 says, "For he holds the whole body together with joints and ligaments, and it grows as God nourishes it." In other words, we're focusing on the joints that keep the body together. We're all parts of the body, but God nourishes those joints, and those are the things that keep us together. With our bodies, if we don't take care of them, they fall apart. If we don't give them the right health, the right exercise, right? They deteriorate, they fall apart. Jesus is showing us, God is showing us, it's the same thing is true in your relationships. Take care of the things that keep us together. Help them to grow. Second, restore my broken relationships. Restore my broken relationships. There are relationships in this room that are broken, and they need to be restored. Even as you wrote it down, you began to think of those relationships, because we all know who they are. And I want to tell you something. Sometimes we're so scared because there's so much pain there in the brokenness, so we don't do the things we need to do to fix them. I love this. I heard someone say this. The pain of unresolved conflict is greater than the pain of resolving it. No matter how bad it may hurt what you're going through, it's nothing compared to not fixing it. The pain of unresolved conflict is so huge. It's much worse than just stepping out and resolving it. I want to encourage you to do this. You do your part. You do your part to restore the relationship. A lot of people say, but Jeremy, what if they don't respond to me? What if they don't want to fix it? You do your part. If the other half of the relationship isn't willing to participate in restoring it, that's okay. But you are responsible for your side. You're responsible to do what you can to fix it. Literally, that's what the Bible teaches us. The Bible says in Romans 12:17-18, "Do not repay evil for evil. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you," I want you to underline that part. As far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. What a great way to choose to live. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be the one who doesn't hold on to the junk. I'm not going to make my decision to restore a relationship based on somebody else's actions. I'm going to do it for me. I'm going to live at peace with everyone. I want to brag on my wife for a second. This last month and a half has been really tough for her. She's had some really hurtful things happen in relationships. They've been private, they've been public, and they've hurt her really bad. Think people that she thought she was extremely close to, a couple of them, some of our closest friends, there's been just broken relationship there. What she could have done is she could have been the victim. She could have played the victim. I can't believe that so-and-so is doing this to me. I can't believe they would say that about me on Facebook for everyone else to see. She could have gone the other way, and she could have actually called them out and said, well, what about you? You did this, you did that. She could have exposed all their flaws. She could have gone that way. She could have held grudges, held bitterness. But what I love about my wife is how much more mature she is than me, because those are the things I listed that I would have done. Instead, she did this. She chose to be at peace with everyone. She's reached out her hand to people that she was scared that the relationship was broken with. She tried to contact some of the people that she knew the relationship was broken with. She's done her part. She's been silent and allowed God to be her defender. She's still loved and cared for people from a distance. And what I really love is what I've seen it do in her. I've never seen my wife with more joy than I've seen in her in the last month and a half. At a time that she should be really devastated. I'm devastated for her. And yet she's got more joy than ever because she's done her part. As far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. That's how you fix broken relationships. You do your part. Number 3, sever any harmful relationships. Sever any harmful relationships. There are a lot of relationships that just aren't good for us. We know it. Just like the broken ones, you know the ones that aren't good for you. I'm about to get into your biz right now, into your business. But again, who cares? I won't be here for 3 more years. You know about the relationship at work, the flirtatious one, but you're married. You know about it. Some of you know that you've gone even farther than that. You've taken it too far. You know that's harmful. You know that's toxic. You know that the people that when you're with them, you do things you never would have done before. You talk ways you never would talk. You joke around about stuff that's just, you wouldn't joke around like that. You know, regardless of where you come from, you know the people that take you to places you never thought you'd go and they keep you longer than you'd ever thought you'd stay. You know who they are. You know what it is. And you need to make a choice to break it, to sever it, to be done with it. That relationship at work or wherever that I'm talking about, you know exactly what you need to do. You need to end it. Matter of fact, I would encourage you, text them, and say, you know what, you can even use me. You can say, dear so-and-so, this dude Jeremy at church said it's over. And you could wait for a second, send another text, I agree. There you go, you're good, you're done. End it, sever it, make it be done. And my job, I've had to do that. There are certain groups of people that I cannot hang with because it would take me to places I don't want to go. It makes me not be the person it doesn't help bring out the best in me. It would bring out the worst in me. We all know it. We all know. Let me give you some scripture. God talks about this a lot, about the types of friends we have and what they do. Proverbs 27:19. A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. Woo! Look at your closest friends. They are the greatest reflection of what matters to you. Your closest friends are the greatest reflection of what matters to you. I tell my kids this all the time. Show me your friends. My son's in here. I guarantee he would be able to finish this. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Who you invest most of your time in relationship with is who you're going to become. Think about that as it relates to your closest friends. Proverbs 13:20 says, walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble. Simple facts. Who we are closest with has a major part in shaping who we become. Who we're closest with has a major role in shaping who we become. Now, I want to answer the question that some of you have. The answer is no. No, I'm not saying you should only hang out with church people. As a matter of fact, there's some church people you shouldn't be hanging out with. I got in some big trouble with the church kids growing up. That's not what I'm saying. It's not about church people. What I am saying to you is You should hang out with the people who encourage the best in you. You should invest the majority of your heart into the relationships who will bring out who you were meant to be, not into the ones who bring out the worst in you, who bring out who you don't want to be. That's what I'm saying. I tell my son all the time, don't just hang out with church kids. Don't just hang out with the believers. Hang out with everyone, but be closest to the ones who will help you be who you're meant to be. That's what I'm talking about. So, there's your first three, and finally, the fourth one, initiate some meaningful relationships. If you want to have a richer relationships, you need to initiate some meaningful ones, and I'm going to give you 4. Hebrews 10:25 says, "Let us not give up on meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another all the more as you see the day approaching." It's all about being in relationships together. We don't want to give up on it. We need to initiate meaningful relationships. So let me give you 4. First, relationship with a church. Regardless of I love what Whitney said, and we say here, you don't have to believe to belong. This isn't about if you're a believer or not. You be a part of a church. Churches are filled with people who want to build you up. Center Church is a great place for that. You belong here. And this is a place that's going to encourage you to grow. That's the type of meaningful relationships we need in our life. Places that will encourage us to grow. So it's not about going to church. It's about building relationships within one. That's what I'm talking about, building that relationship within it. It's okay if it's not Center. Not really. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's okay if it's not Center. But just get involved in a relationship with a church. Second thing I want to encourage you is relationship with a small group. We already talked about this a little bit. But you can ask the people in my small group, and they'll tell you that this is a struggle for me. Small groups have always been a struggle for me. Going to them, hosting them. I don't want to go to some random house. I don't want to let strangers or random people in my house. Dear Lord, no. Don't touch my furniture. No, I'm just kidding. But I chose to do it when I was challenged to initiate, like Marcus did with me a year and a half ago. And it has produced some of the greatest stuff in my life. I've got people in my life that get me, and that's hard to do, as you can see. There's a lot going on up here. I've got people that get me. I've got people that are there for me. I got people that I can call and I can talk to, and they're going to encourage me. That they don't look at me and judge me. They look at me and they see it how we're a lot alike. I got people that come over for barbecues at my house, and that's huge because I love food and I want to eat food with people because they bring food with them and it's more food, so it's more fun. Be involved in a small group. Do you know what UCLA did a study that discovered that you need 8 to 10 meaningful touches every single day just to be healthy? That's not coming from a church. That's not coming from a pastor. That's from a university. That we need contact with others. We need meaningful contact. We need encouragement. So, you know what? Let's practice that right now. Everybody stand up and just start hugging each other. No, I'm just kidding. Don't. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But we need that kind of contact, and that's what you're going to get in a small group. You're going to get meaningful contact, and you need it. So, relationship with a church, relationship with a small group, relationship with a team. Do you know why you should be on a team? Because teams are fun. Teams give our life meaning and allow us to do things that are bigger than ourselves. There's just something about being with a group of people and then doing something to serve others. When I was a youth pastor a long time ago, I used to take students on mission trips. And we would take like 50 kids and like 5 leaders. That was a bad ratio. But we would take them down to Mexico and we'd build houses for people who didn't have any. And we took all these kids. You know what's crazy to watch is what happens to any of us, the adults and the students. We would kill ourselves, man. It was hot because we'd go during the summer. We'd be digging trenches and putting up walls and nailing things in the wrong boards and doing everything all day, working our tails off in the sun. And we'd be laughing, and we'd be joking around with each other. And I'd watch kids who came from the United States as enemies, but left Mexico as friends, and then stayed friends. The kids who would go with me and the leaders who went, they stayed closer for longer than any of the other kids. Those relationships lasted. Because when we do things for others and we do them as a team, something happens in us. And it's such a cool thing to watch. So I want to encourage you, find a team. We do stuff around here all the time. We do things that put others first all the time. Maybe you need to be on a team here. Maybe you need to serve with the kids. Maybe you need to be the one watching the person with 20 kids. You need to do that. I mean, they need a break, so help them out. But we need to be a part of a team, initiate a relationship with a team. And then the final thing, and I know Marcus talked about this, but we need a relationship with God. He talked about this last week, but I'm going to talk about it again today. You don't need religion. You need a relationship with God. I've said it a number of times that you were designed, you were built, you were created for a relationship, first with God and then with others. It may seem foreign. It may seem so different that there's this God that wants relationship with you, but at the same time, I know it tugs at your heartstrings because it's what you were designed for. And our God wants a true, real, and rich relationship with you. The Bible describes him as a friend that is closer than any brother. He won't leave you when it gets tough. He'll never fail you, and then when you make your mistakes, he still stands by your side. And we were born for a relationship with him. And what's really cool is he wants a relationship with us. Relationships. First with God. And you know what's cool about God? Is it's so easy to have a relationship with him. We say it around here that he's a half turn away. The easiest relationship in the world to initiate is the one with God, because we just say, hey, God, I want to have a friendship with you. A real, rich friendship with you. And like that, it begins. It's that simple. So I want to encourage you today that if you want not just a good life, but a crazy good life, then invest yourself into real and rich relationships. And I really want to encourage you, if you haven't already, start with God. And then watch what he begins to do with the rest. Will you pray with me? Lord, thank you for our time together, God. Thanks that we can not take ourselves so serious, but God, that we do take you very serious. Lord, I pray for every type of relationship that's represented in this room, that Jesus, you would fix the broken ones, that you would nourish the important ones, that God, you would encourage us to nourish them. That, Lord, you would give us the strength and the bravery to sever the dangerous, the toxic relationships. And that, God, you would challenge us and encourage us to initiate the meaningful ones, specifically with you. And that, God, as we sit here in this room, as we're quiet and we're praying, that if there's people in this room that need you, that they would just ask and they would know today that it was that quick that the relationship has begun. Now we thank you for all this in your name. Amen.